Years from now, people are going to look at history and they wonder how they would describe our lifestyle. It's interesting because this is how we react. We look to the past. Fortunately, sometimes there are documentaries and very creative ways in which the history of 100 years ago is made alive for us. People are going to wonder. I hope they will say good things. I know what I will say. I'll say that some reader got docked at the Feast of the Epiphany because they didn't show up for the 11 o'clock Mass. No. You think that's funny? I do too. Okay. This story is not a figment of the imagination. No, it's not. It's real life. This is real life. It is told in a few words, and it's from the Scriptures. And even when we add a few details to it, perhaps it doesn't take away the core of the story. It brings it more to life. So these details will explain this journey across the desert that people did then and people do now. Less now than before. In fact, I always say more than is necessary, but one of the most prevalent airlines in the world is Emirates, right in the middle of the desert. So people are traveling now by air, not so much by camelback, as they'd say. But in those days, like we've changed a lot ourselves in the manner in which we go from one place to another. There's no more horse carriages, if they ever were, for long journeys. And today it's nothing. In 24 hours you can be right around the world. But think about this in history. These travelers had traversed the desert back and forth many times. Many times, obviously. And even though there's only mention of the three magi, the three kings, the three astrologers, you see, whatever name you wish to describe them, the fact is that they have some prominence in the story of Christmas. That's important. Tell the story to the children. I learned those stories when I was a kid, and I encourage adults to tell the story to the children or they'll never know. They wouldn't be able to piece it together. No one travels the desert then and now in just 3 or 4 or 5 camels. No, it's a caravan. A caravan. The Bedouins who live in desert life travel by caravan. People have their assigned tasks in the caravan. Certain camels will carry the load. And when they arrive, they generally would stop by an oasis, a little body of water, a very precious commodity in desert life. And when they stop, everyone does their own thing. People to pitch the tents so that the night could be spent in relative comfort, people to prepare the food or to warm up the food. Many of them would have brought food with them, as people do on such journeys even today. And it's served, and they eat together. Desert life. These 3 traders, I say traders because they had goods with them for trade, and they were expensive goods, not anything normal. They were not dealing with beads. They were dealing with gold and frankincense and myrrh, very expensive items, the first of which is very expensive even today, gold. And on the way, desert people have learned to be guided. Their compass is the heavenly bodies. the sun, the moon, and the stars. When the moon comes out, they're at rest. And the stars tell them their direction. So piece all these details together. Accustomed to the heavenly bodies, they noticed a star that had some very special meaning and significance for them. And they were wondering all about it. And when they arrived at the place that was destined for them, they must have gone to see the king. Not an uncommon thing when people of any importance arrive in a place, they go to see the leaders of the place. That's why we have this custom in many parts of the world and in many cities that when an important visitor arrives, the mayor of the city or the governor of the state, depends who you're going to see, will give you a key to the city. A key to the city. That means this city is yours. We are happy to share it with you. Little details, important. So Herod was the Roman king. And Herod, listening to their story, wanted to know about this newborn king of the Jews that they were in search of. We saw his star in the distance, and we followed it. Now where are we destined to go? And Herod said, I really don't know, but I'm going to find out for you. So he calls in the Jewish elders and says, what is this thing about the newborn king of the Jews? Mind you now, he is reacting as the king, the Roman government. And in that reaction, inside there was turmoil. Newborn king, I am the king. Who is this newborn king? Think about that. And he had a plan. But he didn't want to reveal his fear. They were led by a star. He was led by his fear. This newborn king someday is going to overthrow the power that I have. And so nicely he says to the Magi, the astrologers, the wise men. Incidentally, wise men are still searching for Jesus. Anyway. He says to them, go and find your way. And when you know exactly where it is, come back on your way home and tell me, so that I too may go and pay him homage. It was the furthest thing from his mind to acknowledge the kingship of a child. In time to come, that child would grow and his power was threatened. Now, God works in wonderful ways. In a dream, they were instructed, don't go back to the king, go back to your country by another route. Now that's all from the Gospels. The story. Tell the story. Everyone likes a good story. Even if it's at bedtime, tell it to the kids. The implication of the story comes next in our reflection. When we know the details of the story now, how does all of this have meaning for us? Let's look at Herod. Herod was threatened. Now we say, in a family, when mama is happy, the whole family is happy. Isn't that true? I think so. I see all the mamas shaking their heads. That's good. Well, in a little kingdom, when the king is happy, everyone's happy. And when the king is not happy, well, you can imagine. Everyone is on edge. Power works the same way today. When the leader is happy, everyone's happy. When the leader is not happy, you're supposed to be unhappy yourself. And if you are happy by any means, you'll be in trouble. That's how it works all over the world, still today. Herod was very upset. And it took a little time. But he passed an edict that when he found out that these traders haven't come back in almost 2 years, he passed an edict. He said it was about 2 years ago that they were looking for the newborn king of the Jews. I haven't heard anything about it as yet. And the edict was this: all male babies 2 years and under to be slaughtered. And they were. And Holy Mother, the Church, remembers that. In this Christmas season, one of the feasts is the Feast of the Holy Innocents, remembering the edict of Herod for the slaughter of male babies, hoping that the baby born to be king will be slaughtered. God works in wonderful ways. And then we know about the flight into Egypt. All of that part of the story. The implication is this: you and I are journeying to the manger scene. And in our art and music, we have beautiful music. We say, "We Three Kings." We're going to sing that, at least part of it, in the closing. Am I right, Allison? That's right. We do what Allison tells us to do. Okay. We three kings of Orient are. They came from the east. I'm pointing in the right direction. They came from the east. They brought their gifts of trade. That's all they had. And they offered expensive gifts. We are travelers. Here's our reflection. We come to this scene every time we remember it and celebrate. The manger scene. And our art and architecture is always very beautiful. Three kings bearing their gifts. Oh, they're dressed up very royally. Bring the children here after Mass if they have not seen a manger scene, and explain to them. And if they ask you anything about the sheep, say that was the common animal. And then there's a cow. And of course, without a donkey, Eastern life wouldn't happen. There's a donkey. Then we have Mary and Joseph, and everyone is dressed up for the occasion. I'm sure it wasn't that way that first Christmas. They couldn't afford it. They were not the wealthiest people. The implication is that you and I are visiting this manger scene in 2021. Last week, this week. We are coming to see the newborn King of the Jews. Some of us may be threatened. Others may be happy. Some are trying to relive the blessings of this newborn child and allowing him to rule in the kingdom of our hearts. Some of us may not be ready for that right now, but hopefully we are in preparation. The world is passing by. This is a beautiful scene over here. I try not to look out, but I couldn't help it in my last reference. The world is passing by. Cars left and right, east and west. Maybe some of them are going to their place of worship, recalling the Epiphany. Maybe some are not. You are here, I am here. We are visiting this scene. What kind of gift will we give to Jesus? It's not so much about the ribbon that we tie around ourselves or the packing and the paper that we use. It's the content of the gift. Can we say to Jesus, accept me as your gift in remembrance of your saving work? That's our reflection on this feast of the Epiphany, which means manifestation, that Jesus is made known to the world. And when you and I return from the manger scene, we must manifest him to the world around us. Amen.